that. Let's talk a little bit about the session that's coming up. Let's first talk maybe about how we met and where
Ooh,
our creative intersections come together, and then what
yeah.
people are going to benefit from attending our session next week, right? So,
Oh,
how did we meet? I think you called me or
I
contacted me when
did.
I got back into Southwest Colorado after traveling a bit, and you wanted to learn lettering?
Yes, 100%. So I had gone to a Grove visual facilitation session, in-person session, so long before COVID disrupted everybody's world. And there it was the first course I was taking around visual facilitation and being a visual practitioner. And when I was there, I remember just having this epiphany of like, okay, if I'm going to get good at this, I need two things. I need to improve my icons and I need to improve my lettering.
Yeah.
And I went on a hunt of like, who can help me improve my lettering? Who can help me improve sort of just building an icon library? And I landed up with Heather and Vocablo.
Nice.
Those two answers. And I contacted you, and that's how we set off on a sort of a lettering journey, which
Yeah.
I think has led to many different things, which has
Right.
landed us here today in terms of tech hosting. So it was back probably 2017 or maybe 2018 when we first met,
Yep,
I
that's
think.
right. And
Yeah.
you came to this already as a facilitator, right? So you were
Yes.
already a facilitator, you were learning the visual part, and that just springboards you in to be able to do lots of different processes with groups and
Absolutely. And
adding
I always
visuals.
had this passion as a facilitator that there was something really powerful that happened in the room when you brought visuals in
That's
there.
right.
And that it helped people, you know, change the conversation that they were having, make connections in a different way and listen to each other differently. Where they would get hung up sometimes on things that people were saying, but sometimes when it was reflected in a visual way and it was represented, they could kind of just let go with some of the maybe the back and forth that they get hung up in. But
Yeah.
when it's captured, it gives it more equality in a way. So I just could sense that different things happened when I did this, even in a very rough kind of just with a flip chart and really poor Sharpie markers and terrible lettering, but there was something that changed. And so it always felt very important in
Yeah.
terms of visuals to help people make progress in their work and to have better conversations.
Well, we certainly understand the power of visuals in our work. And now that we're online and doing more of this work, I think you might have attended. I did a live session where I talked about Tech Host Academy. I was just starting to introduce it, and you said, "Hello, let's get
Yes.
together and talk about how can we make these online sessions more engaging." Right?
100%. And so what happened for me, that was the visuals is one part of it, but what happened for me is visuals was something I started to bring into facilitation work, right? And being intentional about every session that I held, making sure there was a way of having visuals in there to help the conversation and to progress the work. And then when we had this big shift where everything went online, there was a bit of figuring out in terms of how do you do that? How do you still bring that in a way? Because obviously, as a facilitator for me, I was doing it on paper and pen in the room with people. But how do you bring that back into online sessions?
Right.
I know there are many different ways, and I know that isn't what we're talking about today, but there are many different ways that you can do that in an online session. But part of why I came to you with tech hosting is something that had been coming up for me as well in this transition to online. There was a lot of talk and a lot of people asking a lot of questions about how do you make online meetings engaging? How do you make online meetings engaging? And people struggling to feel like all of these online sessions were becoming stale and they were just losing
Yeah.
connection with people. They weren't getting the best thinking out of everyone. They weren't doing their best work together. And it was just sort of going through the rhythm of people logging into the Zoom and then logging out, maybe turning off their cameras, multitasking, doing 100 other things, and then the meeting was over, and then nothing being done.
Right.
So how did you make sure that online sessions were engaging? And I started reflecting that a lot of the work that I have done as a facilitator, came down to boosting engagement in different ways. And if I could unpack that
Hmm.
in a way, and because engagement isn't magic, it isn't just something that happens, but it can be really intentional. And if you know what the things are
Hmm.
inside of it, then we can intentionally design for engagement in sessions. So I started to take a lot of my facilitation methodologies and break those down into understanding, well, what is it that makes that engaging? So, and just to kind of to give a little bit more context to that, is people would often say when you're in an in-person workshop at the end of it, like, wow, that was amazing. What was it that you did, right? The facilitator, and it isn't the facilitator that makes magic, but it's something that the facilitators do in sessions that makes the engagement and makes people work differently together and helps them come up with something different. So I started to try and unpack that, which is what led me to this model
Mhm.
of 9 different dimensions of engagement. That's when I reached out to you and I was like, this would be amazing for the tech host team to understand as well. Because if we
Yes.
can understand these different 9 dimensions, then as tech hosts, we can also help to make sure that we're bringing these into sessions and
That's right.
helping to make sessions as engaging as possible.
That's right. And tech hosts can be facilitators who want to learn the tech hosting process. It can be presenters, teachers, trainers, but it's also people that are working online, hybrid or remote
Yeah.
teams, or even online learners that just want to make sessions better. But one of the
Yeah.
things they need to understand is how meetings work. And your 9 dimensions of engagement teach tech hosts what's happening in a meeting, what can they anticipate so that they're not surprised, so they can keep that equanimity amongst them as we're trying to support the facilitated process of making meetings more engaging. So I am so
Absolutely.
excited about meeting with you and sharing this with the world. Can you, and I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but can you just say what can people expect from this session and what are they going to gain?
Sure. Well, I hope people can expect to learn what the 9 different dimensions are and sort of know what they are. And we have a great giveaway at the end, which is a list of each of the different dimensions and specifically things and activities that you can do as a tech host that will boost each of those different dimensions. So you're going to get to learn each of the 9 dimensions, how they impact engagement, what they are, and how to bring them into your own meetings.
Yes, so this is going to be high energy, hands-on. So this is people cannot be multitasking because this is definitely engaging, right? We're going to be practicing the work as we go through it.
We are.
And how exciting. I'm so excited to open the doors at Tech Coast Academy and share the great knowledge that you have and so happy that you agreed to be my guest on
Absolutely.
the
Thank
session.
you.
So thank you so much, Tricia, for being a part of the upcoming Quest session.
Definitely. Thank you, Heather, and thank you for having me. It's going to be great. Looking forward to it very much.
Yay. Thank you.